The Springfield Board of Mayor and Aldermen is meeting for May 15th is called to order. Please stand and say the pledge with us. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, yeah. 1.2, a presentation. We're going to call Daniel Jackson from TDEC, the Department of Environmental and Conservation, to the podium. He is going to do a presentation for the Springfield Parks and Recreation Department. Daniel, welcome. He came all the way from Shelbyville, so give him a warm welcome.
Well, just kind of halfway in Nashville, you know. But
you got to go home to Shelbyville.
I do have to go home. At least I hope my wife ain't kicked me out, so hopefully I'll be able to go.
You hadn't been home much, though.
Right, that's right. Well, it's an honor to be here in Springfield. This is my first time being in Springfield, and wow, it's a beautiful town, and y'all should be very proud of what you have here.
Thank you.
I'm here tonight on behalf of TDEC, Recreation Educational Services Division, to present to the Parks and Recreation Department the Tier 1 benchmarking certificate. Met Terry today. They've been working hard. Him and Sherry have worked really hard on getting all the information together concerning this benchmarking. Springfield should be very proud. They've got a great department, forward thinking, lots of good things going on out there, and this is one of the things to prove that. This helps out with grant-related items also. You score extra points whenever we have grant time and stuff. So that's a good thing. So it's a great thing for the city of Springfield to be Tier 1 benchmark. If you don't know, this is my first time presenting one of these to cities, so I'm not really sure exactly what I ought to say other than they've done a good job and y'all should be very proud of them. So at this time, I'd like to present this certificate to Mr. Terry.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. You're very welcome.
Thank you. Speech, Terry. Well, I'd just like to say real quick, it's a reflection of the department. You know, it's how good a job the entire staff is doing, because this isn't just based on the paperwork. It's also based on on-site visits where they did not call us and let us know they were coming, but they did show up and looked at all the parks. And so I just wanted to recognize the staff, and not only that, but the paperwork that was done. I wanted to recognize Recreation Programmer Sherry Bryant. She has done an outstanding job. I remember about day 5, she came into my office and she said, we got to answer these questions and we got to do this again. I said, how many days will this continue? She said, around 30. So you all that know me, that was not good news for me. But it went well, we done good, and I'm very proud of her, and she done an excellent job, and the staff's doing a great job, so thank you.
Thank you for your excellent leadership in that department. And Sherry, thank you so much. Daniel, thank you for coming tonight.
I appreciate you.
Could I give Sherry a quick look?
Sure you can.
Sherry, we also thank you because she is the exercise guru, nutrition guru, and she's been keeping us healthy for the past, what, about 8 years now? About 8. But she's doing a good job. Thank you for it.
Thank you. 1.3, the approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen held April 17th, 2018. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Are there any corrections? I'm sorry?
Who seconded?
Was there a second?
Second.
Any corrections? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? 1.4, we go into our public hearings. Number 1, ordinance 18. What?
We have the minutes from the special meeting.
Oh, I do have an old one. Thank you, Kim. 1.3, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. 1.4, the approval of the special meeting for the Board of Mayor and Aldermen held May 10th, 2018. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any corrections? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Now we're going to our public hearings. Please forgive me. Number 1, ordinance 18-06, an ordinance amending Title 8 of the Springfield Municipal Code by amending Chapter 2 entitled Beer by rescinding Section 8-211 entitled Minimum Distance from Church or Schools in its entirety and substituting a new Section 8-211. If you would like to speak to this, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and you have 2 minutes to speak. Would anyone like to speak? This public hearing is closed. Our second public hearing, ordinance 18-07, an ordinance amending the schedule of fees and charges to play at the Legacy Golf Course by rescinding ordinance 17-01 in its entirety and substituting a new fee schedule of fees. Please come to the podium if you'd like to speak. Public hearing is closed. 2.1, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 18-06 on a second reading, an ordinance amending Title 8 of the Springfield Municipal Code by amending Chapter 2 entitled Beer by rescinding Section 8-211 entitled Minimum Distance from Church or Schools in its entirety and substituting a new Section 8-211. Do I hear a motion to discuss?
So move.
Second.
Okay, gentlemen. Ms. Holt?
Okay, on the revised or the updated agenda that you all received, there was a suggestion for an amendment, and it was to include one sentence in Section 2 that basically allows small beer manufacturers, so this is microbreweries, and as most of you all know, microbreweries are very popular now. They're unique to the area, so it's kind of something that people would be coming to. It's just a unique little market. So by adding one sentence, which says under Section 2 for on-premise permits, that manufacturers of beer pursuant to the rules and regulations stipulated in TCA Title 57, Chapter 5, and all parts and references contained therein, by adding that, we would be allowed to have small beer manufacturers or microbreweries. And basically, because under TCA Title 57, they classify as a limited service restaurant. They're very small. They don't have many, they don't have many seats, but they do have a limited menu. So by adding this on this second reading, we would allow, but of course they would have to meet all the codes, all the zoning and everything else, but we would be allowed to have some microbreweries.
So amended. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I make a motion that we amend this ordinance by adding, the just said.
Microbreweries.
And it is in
Microbrewery.
your agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor to add to change the Section 2.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Are we ready to vote on the amendment? Call the roll, please.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Sneed,
Aye.
Harris,
Yes.
Trotter,
Aye.
Schneider,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Gregg,
Aye.
passed 7-0.
Okay, now we're back to the main motion that has been amended. I'm gonna get this right tonight. At least once. Any more discussion? Questions? Call the roll, please.
Schneider,
Aye.
Harris,
Yes.
Gregg,
Aye.
Sneed,
Aye.
Trotter,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Aye.
passed 7-0.
Thank you. 2.2, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 18-07 on a second reading. Ordinance amending the schedule of fees and charges for play at the Legacy Golf Course by rescinding ordinance 17-01 in its entirety and substituting a new schedule of fees. Do I hear a motion to discuss?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? No questions? Call the roll, please.
Head,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Trotter,
Aye.
Schneider,
Aye.
Gregg,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Sneed,
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
Thank you. 2.3, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 18-08 on a first reading. An ordinance increasing the salaries of the mayor of the city of Springfield to $1,200 per month and a salary for the alderman of the city of Springfield to $600 per month effective December 1st, 2020. Will you please read it? First reading.
Ordinance 18-08, an ordinance increasing the salary of the mayor of the city of Springfield to $1,200 per month and the salary of the alderman for the city of Springfield to $600 per month, all effective December 1st, 2020. Whereas Article 4, Section 4 of the Charter of the City of Springfield provides that the Board of Mayor and Aldermen shall set the salary of the mayor and board of aldermen by ordinance, and whereas Article 11, Section 9 of the Constitution of the State of Tennessee provides that the General Assembly shall have no power to pass a private act altering the salary of a public official prior to the end of the term for which such public officer was selected, and whereas the terms of aldermen representing wards 1, 2, and 3 of the City of Springfield expire on November 30th, 2018, and the terms of the mayor and aldermen representing wards 4, 5, and 6 of the City of Springfield expire on November 30th, 2020. And whereas the salary of the mayor has remained at $700 per month since 2003, and the salary of the alderman has remained at $350 per month since 2003, and whereas due to increasing activities of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen and the increasing amount of time needed by the Mayor and Board of Aldermen to conduct the business of the city in the passage of time since the salaries were set, it is appropriate to increase the salaries to a more reasonable level. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of the City of Springfield as follows. Section 1, the salary of the mayor for the City of Springfield is established at $1,200 per month. Section 2, the salary for the alderman of the City of Springfield is established at $600 per month. Section 3, all ordinances, resolutions, and policies in conflict herewith shall be rescinded to the extent of the conflict only. Section 4, this ordinance shall become effective December 1st, 2020.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to discuss?
I'm pleased with this.
Okay, we have to have a motion on the floor to discuss.
So moved.
Thank you. A second. First and a second. Mr. Hubbard, go right ahead.
Yes, I'm pleased with this because this will sort of give some incentive for the time that is really needed really to perform this function.
Mr. Harris? Ms. Trotter? Mr. Gregg? Mr. Sneed? Mr. Head? Okay. Call the roll, please.
Trotter.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Schneider.
Aye.
Sneed.
No.
Gregg. Harris.
Yes.
Pass 6-1.
2.4, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 18-09 on a first reading. An ordinance amending the fiscal year 2018 annual budget for the City of Springfield by amending certain general funds and utility operating fund budget. Please read.
Ordinance 18-09, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2018 annual budget for the City of Springfield by amending certain general fund and utility operating fund budgets. Whereas it is necessary to amend the City of Springfield annual budget for the fiscal year 2018 in order to meet the requirements of the city charter. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee, that the City of Springfield annual budget for fiscal year 2018 is hereby amended to make necessary changes to the expenditures and revenues within the funds and departments as set forth in Exhibit A attached. All ordinances, resolutions, and policy in conflict herewith are hereby rescinded to the extent of the conflict only.
Do I hear a motion to discuss?
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Okay. Questions? No questions?
Okay, as you know, just about every month we have had some type of budget amendment for the current budget. And so all this is doing is making some more corrections. And this has to do with the sewer capacity fees, the water capacity fees, and transferring from the general government expense. So if you have any more detailed questions, Lisa would be happy to answer.
We do this quite frequently. No questions? Call the roll, please.
Sneed.
Aye.
Harris.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Gregg. Head.
Yes.
Schneider.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Passed 7-0.
Thank you. 2.5, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 18-10 on a first reading, a ordinance of the City of Springfield, Tennessee, adopting the annual budget and the tax rate for the fiscal year July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019. Please read it. Is this the long one?
This is long. Ordinance 18-10, an ordinance of the City of Springfield adopting the annual budget and tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019. Whereas Tennessee Code Annotated Title 9, Chapter 1, Section 116 requires that all funds of the state of Tennessee and all its political subdivisions shall be first appropriated before being expended, and that only funds that are available shall be appropriated. And whereas the municipal budget law of the 1982 requires that the governing body of each municipality adopt and operate under the annual budget ordinance presenting a financial plan with at least the information required by the state statute, that no municipality may expend any monies regardless of the source except in accordance with the budget ordinance, and that the governing body shall make any appropriation in excess of estimated available funds. And whereas the governing body has published the annual budget and the budgetary comparisons of the proposed budget with the prior year actual and the current year estimated in the newspaper of general circulation not less than 10 days prior to the meeting where the governing body will consider final passage of the budget. Now therefore be it ordained by the City of Springfield, Tennessee as follows. Section 1, that the governing body estimates anticipated revenues of the municipality from all sources to be as set forth in Exhibit A attached. Section 2, that the governing body appropriates these anticipated revenues and unexpected unencumbered funds to be set forth in Exhibit A attached. Section 3, at the end of the current fiscal year, the governing body estimates balances and deficiencies as set forth in Exhibit A attached. Section 4, that the governing body recognizes that the municipality has bonded and other indebtedness to set forth in Exhibit A attached. Section 5, during the coming fiscal year, the governing body has planned capital projects and proposed funding as set forth in Exhibit A attached. It is reasonably expected that the municipality will reimburse itself for certain expenditures made by it in connection with the planned capital projects through the issuance of debt. This ordinance shall be placed in the minutes of the governing body and shall be made available for inspection by the general public at the office of the governing body. This ordinance constitutes a declaration of official intent under Treasury Regulation Section 1.150-2. Section 6, no appropriation listed above may be extended without an amendment to the budget ordinance as required by the Municipal Budget Law of 1982, TCA Section 6-56-208. In addition, no appropriation may be made in excess of the funds except to provided for an actual emergency threatening the health, property, or lives in the inhabitants of the municipality and declared by a 2/3 vote of at least a quorum of the governing body in accord with Section 6-56-205 of the Tennessee Code Annotated. Section 7, money shall be transferred from one appropriation to another in the same fund only by appropriate ordinance by the governing body, subject to such limitations and procedures as it may describe as allowed by Section 6-56-209 of the Tennessee Code Annotated. Any resulting transfers shall be reported to the governing body at its next regular meeting and entered into the minutes. Section 8, a detailed financial plan will be attached to this budget to become part of the budget ordinance. In addition, the published operating budget and budgetary comparisons shown by fund with beginning and ending balances and the number of full-time equivalent employees required by Section 6-56-206 Tennessee Code Annotated will be attached. Section 9, if for any reason a budget ordinance is not adopted prior to the beginning of the next fiscal year, the appropriations in this budget ordinance shall become the appropriations for the next fiscal year until the adoption of the new budget ordinance in accordance with Section 6-56-210 Tennessee Code Annotated, provided sufficient revenues are being collected to support the continuing appropriations. Approval of the Director of the Division of Local Finance and the Comptroller of the Treasury for a continuation budget will be requested if any indebtedness is outstanding. Section 10, there is hereby levied a property tax of $1.20 per $100 of assessed value on all real estate and personal property. Section 11, all encumbered balances of appropriations remaining at the end of the fiscal year shall lapse and revert to the respective fund balances. Section 12, the ordinance shall take effect July 1st, 2018, the public welfare requiring it.
Thank you. Great job there. Do I hear a motion to discuss?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay. We'll get into this discussion. We had a workshop last week on the budget, and I'm sure you have lots of questions about the budget, and we can all get started with that. I'm going to start with Mr. Harris.
Nothing right now.
Mr. Trotter, do you have questions?
Nothing right now.
Mr. Hubbard?
I don't want to sound redundant, but this is a very good budget, and must compliment Ms. Holt and the staff for the budget. And it's bare bone.
We knew that would be that way, that we spent a lot of money last year doing
Exactly.
projects and getting ready to start some new projects, so there's not a lot of wiggle room. And Ms. Holt, you've done an excellent job, and Ms. Crockett, I know you've spent a lot of hours here, after hours, working on this budget and working on it the weekend, so we thank you for that. Mr. Head? Mr. Sneed?
There's some things that I could line item in here if I had that authority, or if I thought I had the support to get it approved, but I'm pretty sure it's a moot point, so I won't even raise the issue.
Mr. Gregg? Okay. Any more questions? Any questions before we call the roll? Ms. Brickell, you probably don't even have a voice left, but will you call the roll, please?
Harris.
Yes.
Schneider.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Sneed.
No?
Gregg.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Passed 6-1.
Thank you. 2.6, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 18-11 on a first reading. A ordinance amending Title 12, Chapter 1 of the Springfield Municipal Code by deleting Section 12-104 entitled Modification to the Residential Building Code in its entirety and substituting a new Section 12-104 entitled Modifications to the Residential Building Code. Ms. Brickles, I'm sorry, will you
okay.
please read this again?
Ordinance 18-11, an ordinance amending Title 12, Chapter 1 of the Springfield Municipal Code by deleting Section 12-104 entitled Modifications to the Residential Building Code in its entirety and substituting a new Section 12-104 entitled Modifications to the Residential Building Code to read as set forth in Exhibit A attached. Whereas the Board of Mayor and Aldermen desires to update the building code of the City of Springfield, and whereas it is necessary to adopt a building code establishing the minimum regulations governing the conditions and maintenance of all property, buildings, and structures by providing the standards for supplied utilities and facilities and other physical things and conditions essential to ensure the structures are safe, sanitary, and fit for occupation and use, and the condemnation of buildings and structures unfit for human occupancy and use and the demolition of such structures, and whereas it is necessary to adopt a residential building code regulating the design, construction, quality of materials, erection, installation, alteration, repair, location, relocation, replacement, addition to, use, or maintenance of one and two family dwellings and townhouses not more than 3 stories in height, and providing for the issuance of permits and collections of fees therefore. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for the City of Springfield as follows. Title 1, Section 1, Title 12 of the Springfield Municipal Code is hereby amended by deleting Section 12-104 of Chapter 1 entitled Modifications to the Residential Building Code in its entirety and substituting a new Section 12-104 entitled Modifications to the Residential Building Code to read as set forth in Exhibit A attached. All ordinances, resolutions, and policies in conflict are hereby rescinded to the extent of the conflict only.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to discuss?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Questions? Ms. Holt, do you have something you would like to tell us before we get started?
Well, pretty much this came about from the State Fire Marshal's Office, and they are authorizing us to update our codes to the 2012 International Residential Code, and they are allowing us to go with the 2009 Energy Code. So it's just to basically update our codes.
Okay. Any questions? No questions? Call the roll, please.
Schneider,
Aye.
Harris,
Yes.
Gregg,
Aye.
Sneed,
Aye.
Trotter,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Aye.
pass 7-0.
Thank you. 2.7, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 18-12 on a first reading, or ordinance rescinding ordinance 14-18 in its entirety and amending Title 12 of the Springfield Municipal Code entitled Building, Utilities, etc. Codes by deleting Chapter 12 entitled Energy Conservation Codes in its entirety and substituting a new Chapter 12. Ms. Brickles, will you please read?
Ordinance 18-12, an ordinance rescinding ordinance 14-18 in its entirety and amending Title 12 of the Springfield Municipal Code entitled Building, Utility, etc. Codes by deleting Chapter 12 entitled Energy Conservation Code in its entirety and substituting a new Chapter 12 to read as set forth in Exhibit A attached. Whereas the Board of Mayor and Aldermen recognize the need for a modern, up-to-date energy conservation code addressing the design of energy-efficient building envelopes and installations of energy-efficient mechanical, lighting, and power systems through requirements emphasizing performance, and whereas the International Energy Conservation Code is designed to meet those needs through model code regulations that will result in the optimal utilization of fossil fuel and non-depletable resources in all communities, large and small. And whereas the Comprehensive Energy Conservation Code establishes minimum regulations for energy-efficient buildings using prescriptive and performance-related provisions, and whereas it is founded on broad-based principles to make possible the use of new materials and new energy-efficient design. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee as follows. Section 1, Ordinance 14-18 is hereby rescinded in its entirety, and Title 12 of the Springfield Municipal Code entitled Building, Utility, etc. Codes is hereby amended by deleting Chapter 12 entitled Energy Conservation Code in its entirety and substituting a new Chapter 12 to read as set forth in Exhibit A attached. Section 2, all ordinances, resolutions, and policies in conflict herewith are hereby rescinded to the extent of the conflict only.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to discuss?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Holt?
Okay, again, this is just updating another code, another section, and it's a little more technical, so if you have any specific questions, Mr. Brewer will be happy to answer.
Any questions, gentlemen?
Comment.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Brewer, I think you're doing a good job. You're really updating necessary codal things. And so I got to give you
We have an excellent staff.
a very good staff.
Okay, questions? No questions? Call the roll, Ms. Brickles.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Sneed,
Aye.
Harris,
Yes.
Trotter,
Aye.
Schneider,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Gregg,
Aye.
pass 7-0.
Thank you. 2.8, discuss and possible take action on ordinance -18-13 on a first reading, or ordinance rescinding ordinance 14-10 in its entirety and amending Title 17 of the Springfield Municipal Code entitled Refuge and Trash Disposal by amending Chapter 1 entitled Refuge Collection by rescinding Section 17-116 entitled Sanitation Rates in its entirety and substituting a new Section 17-116. Will you please read this, Ms. Kim?
Ordinance 18-13, an ordinance rescinding ordinance 14-10 in its entirety and amending Title 17 of the Springfield Municipal Code entitled Refuse and Trash Disposal by amending Chapter 1 entitled Refuse Collection by rescinding Section 17-116 entitled Sanitation Rates in its entirety and substituting a new Section 17-116 to read as set forth in Exhibit A attached. Whereas it has become necessary to increase sanitation rates in order to pay for increased cost of operations and maintenance for refuse collection services. And whereas Article 4, Section 13 of the Charter of the City of Springfield requires that fixing of fees and charges be accomplished through legislative action must be exercised by ordinance. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for the City of Springfield as follows. Section 1, Ordinance 14-10 is hereby rescinded in its entirety, and Title 17 of the Springfield Municipal Code entitled Refuse and Trash Collection is hereby amended by amending Chapter 1 entitled Refuse Collection by rescinding Section 17-116 entitled Sanitation Rates in its entirety and substituting a new Section 17-116 to read as set forth in Exhibit A attached. All ordinances, resolutions, and policies in conflict herewith shall be rescinded to the extent of the conflict only.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to discuss?
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? No discussion? Call the roll, please.
Head,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Trotter,
Aye.
Schneider,
Aye.
Gregg, Hubbard,
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
Thank you. 2.9, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 18-14 on a first reading. A ordinance rescinding ordinance 17-07 in its entirety and setting a new schedule of rates and charges for the Springfield water system. This is the last one. Will you please read it?
Ordinance 18-14, an ordinance rescinding ordinance 17-07 in its entirety and setting a new schedule of rates and charges for the City of Springfield water system. Whereas it has become necessary to increase water rates in order to pay for increased costs of operations, maintenance, and debt service for the water system. And whereas Article 4, Section 13 of the Charter of the City of Springfield requires that fixing of fees and charges be accomplished through legislative action, which must be exercised by ordinance. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of the City of Springfield, Tennessee, that ordinance 17-07 is hereby rescinded in its entirety, and a new schedule of rates and charges is hereby adopted as follows. Section 1, all direct retail customers shall pay a minimum monthly bill. The minimum bill shall include the treatment, transmission, storage, and distribution of the first 2,000 gallons of water per month. The minimum monthly bill for each customer class shall be as follows. Residential city rates, $18.42. County rates, $27.61. Small commercial that's less than 24,000 gallons per month in city is $28.24. County rates is $42.37. Large commercial greater than 24,000 gallons per month in the city is $42.46. County rates are $63.68. Industrial customer city rate is $64.93. County rates is $97.40. Section 2, all retail customers shall pay a consumption rate of all water usage in excess of the first 2,000 gallons per month. The use rate shall be for each 1,000 gallons and any fractional portion thereof. The use rate for each customer shall be as follows. 2,001 gallons to 5,000 gallons in the city is $7.02 per 1,000 gallons. County is $10.54 per 1,000 gallons. 5,001 gallons to 20,000 gallons in the city is $5.98 per 1,000 gallons, $8.98 per 1,000 gallons in the county. 20,001 gallons to 100,000 gallons is $4.90 per 1,000 gallons in the city, $7.36 per $1,000 in the county. 100,000 gallons or more is $4.20 per 1,000 gallons in the city and $6.30 per 1,000 gallons in the county. Section 3, the charge for treatment, submission, and transmission and storage for wholesale customers shall be as follows. Wholesale customers shall pay $4.32 per 1,000 gallons. Section 4, credit for one water leak for each amount shall be allowed in any 12-month period. Credit shall be in the amount of the maximum of 25% reduction in the total bill. Under no circumstance shall the total bill be less than the annual average or best estimated annual average as a result of the utilization of the credit. Proof of the leak in the form of a plumber's invoice for repair will be required. Section 5, all ordinances, resolutions, or policies in conflict herewith are hereby rescinded to the extent of the conflict only. Section 6, this ordinance shall become effective with billing July 1st, 2018.
Thank you. You did a great job with all those first readings tonight. Do I hear a motion to discuss?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We talked about this in our special session that we had on water. Are there any questions?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, sir, Mr. Sneed.
We are working on an updated software for the billing. Have we already got that in place?
Ms. Crockett?
You talk about our enterprise software?
That's right.
No, we do not. That's what's taking a lot of time, trying to get something that's compatible with all the systems.
I know a few years ago, your predecessor, city manager, convinced the board to vote in where if somebody was to turn on their utilities on a remodel or a construction project, it required all the utilities to be turned on because it was, some people were slipping through the cracks and it wasn't being called on final inspections to turn on what needed to be turned on. With the, especially on commercial jobs, residential is bad enough, but commercial, they can be expensive if you're not even using, I don't know if you can even, I don't know how we've even been able to legally charge for services not supplied on projects. Let's say if you start a project, you get water for your concrete work. Sometimes I think it's required to pay sewer on that also. You haven't even connected to sewer yet. So there's months that go through until the final inspection. Depends on the size of the job, that you're paying for services you don't get. And I think that with the enterprise software, hopefully that will get fixed and we can go back and relieve that burden that, and look into the legality of it in the first place. See if because we're charging for services not performed or on those type of situations. If you're looking, some of you look confused. You're not, did I not explain it correctly, or?
Well, I think there are certain cases where we have said that they don't have to. And I think those are on some very specific cases. And there are certain requirements, like on electric, I think that there are certain things that we have to have certain other utilities. So there are different situations, but I don't know that now there's a mandatory, if you get one, you get all.
Right. I think there was something, because there were some situations where a construction project started, they just had their water turned on, and somehow they got their final, but the sewer never did get picked up. And
That's
then
something
we did
probably
an audit and figured out, hey, there's a lot of people out here not paying sewer. So then there was a policy, everybody's got to pay for everything because some are slipping through. That had to do with maybe the enterprise software. And it also, I think, falls back on the final inspection. That should be added to the list of to-do things for that inspector to turn in to make sure it gets picked up. I think it could have been done there rather than putting the burden on
Just to double check.
at the office desk downstairs for people over here when they sign up. So we'll look into that later.
Okay. Other questions? No other questions? Call the roll, please.
Trotter.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Schneider.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Harris.
Yes.
Pass 7-0.
Thank you. 2.10, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 18-18, a resolution declaring certain properties surplus and authorizing the disposal of such properties. Do I hear a motion to discuss?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? What was on your iPad? Call the roll. Oh, Mr. Sneed.
I've got a question for the fire chief.
Yes, sir.
No, this is the first time I've ever seen it go to surplus. There were no volunteer fire departments in the area that wanted this stuff.
Chief Hamill's coming to the mic to answer that question.
In the past, we have, there has been approval to basically loan equipment to these agencies. This time that they decided, the city's decided to put it all on gov deals.
Okay. Answer his question.
The E911 office asked for those defibrillators, so that's practice exercises. So that's why.
Any other questions? Call the roll, please.
Sneed.
Aye.
Harris.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Schneider.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
3.1, discuss and possible take action on the adjustments of the retail electric rates for the Springfield Electric Department due to the wholesale fuel cost adjustments by TVA. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gardner?
Well, the fuel cost adjustment itself is going down 2%, but the rates are going up 5.2 overall due to the seasonal rates.
I know you're just the messenger.
Unfortunately.
You see I'm shaking my finger at you.
We can all shake our finger, but if we don't pass this tonight, we'll have to come back and do this again.
I know you're right.
Probably get some relief in the fall.
Yeah, we will. This is a pass-through from TVA. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Harris.
Yes.
Schneider.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Gregg. Head.
Yes.
Pass 7-0.
3.2, discuss and possible take actions on the adjustment of the monthly gas rates of the Springfield Gas Department. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Riddle? I hope you don't follow your friend.
Well, it's up slightly, the PCA, it's up 3.32%. It's, I don't know, they're trying to get the most out of here this time of year, I guess, that's right.
Any questions, gentlemen? Call the roll.
Schneider.
Aye.
Harris.
Yes.
Gregg.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
3.3, discuss and possible take action to approve a request from the Public Works Department to extend contract 17001 to the D.L. Smith and Sons for the I'm about to lose my voice. Miscellaneous concrete construction for the additional 12 months. Contract would then expire May 30th, 2019. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any questions to Mr. Allen Ellis? Call the roll, please.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Harris.
Yes.
Trotter.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Gregg.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
3.4, discuss and possible take action to approve a request from the Public Works Department to extend contract 17005 to Tim Halsey, TRH Contracting for mowing right-of-ways and litter control for additional 12 months. Contract would then expire on June 30th, 2019. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Head.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Trotter.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
3.5, discuss and possible take action to approve the parade application for the City of Faith Youth Ministry for a parade on the sidewalks of Main Street in the event at the Courthouse Square to be held July 14, 2018 from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. Do I hear? Okay,
Second.
thank you. Any discussion?
They're doing a great job. Great job.
Contributing well to the community.
Yes.
Call the roll, please.
Trotter.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Schneider.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Harris.
Yes.
Pass 7-0.
Thank you. 3.6, discuss and possible take action to approve a policy for the city-owned real estate tax sales. Do I hear a motion to discuss?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Holt?
Okay, as you know, we have been dwelling on these tax sale properties and liens and things for a long, long time. And so this policy, and there is a slightly amended version that's updated in your iPad, so you can see those suggested changes in bold. But this policy is to try to simplify the way that we can get rid of properties that we acquire and we actually don't own them, but we have an ownership interest in them. So this would be a way that the city would work with the county on the jointly owned properties. We would advertise it, everyone would know, there would be plenty of notice. If we get offers, then that's made public as well. So it's very fair, I think it's equitable, it gives everyone a chance, everyone knows what's going on. And I think it's just a pretty simple way to get these properties back on the tax rolls.
Okay. I know you'll have questions on this subject. We've talked about this for quite a while. Mr. Sneed?
Have an amendment to make. I move to amend the motion to add a sentence in the area of the policy where it says offers to purchase, and
Offers to
add
purchase.
the words, it must include
Must include
a 30-day period,
30-day period.
and put a period at the end of that. That's one sentence. Do not put a period there. It must include a 30-day period to allow a minimum 10% counter bid. Put a period there. Each counter bid shall be advertised for 30 days on each subsequent counter bid. Period.
And advertised for 30 days.
On each subsequent counter bid.
Okay?
The counter bid shall be advertised, each counter bid shall be advertised for 30 days until the window is exhausted.
Until it's exhausted. Okay? You've heard the amendment. The motion's been made. Do I hear a second?
Which paragraph are you including that under?
Well, there's several things where the policy says it must, but we're not allowing anyone to make a 10% counter bid. I mean, one person bids and we're supposed to sell it to them, that easy?
No, so you're talking about the second paragraph, then under offers to purchase.
Just add it right there on, I think it's under offers to purchase, yes, it's
That
be in that
second
group.
paragraph, okay.
So that would continue. Okay. Okay, you've heard Mr. Sneed's amendment. Motion to amend. Do we have a second? No second? Motion fails.
Well, I'd like to discuss.
Okay. Mr.
We
Sneed,
just,
you have
we
the
just,
floor.
we just sold Woodard Hall over here for 200,000. I had several people come to me and say, I wish I'd known I could have put in a counter bid for that. Now, if the 6 other people on this board don't want to try to sell our surplus property for the most that we can get to it, and let a few people cherry pick and slide in there and put a bid, and there's no policy to allow for a counter, that's pretty sad.
Mr. Trotter, you had your hand up.
I was just curious, hadn't Woodard Hall been sale for years, and then other people know about it?
It was for sale for several years. And this policy, to bring us back to this, includes advertising the offer. Now, I think, yes, I see what you're saying about maybe putting a time frame on it.
That's just to make it legal,
Yeah.
how you know about it, but there's no provisions to allow, what do we do?
That's fine.
Okay. Mr. Hubbard, you had a question?
Well, I just have a sort of rebuttal. We're not trying to cherry pick. We're not trying to give away the property. We really want to sell it and put it back on the tax roll. So I think what we just introduced will be sufficient without adding more onto it.
Okay.
That's the way I see it.
And we'll be advertising these according to this, what was in your packet on your iPad. We will be advertising these, and then we will be taking bids, correct?
Yes,
Ms. Holm?
and then it says in the section that Alderman Sneed is talking about, in that second paragraph, it says the offer will be published, so the offer received will be published on the website and a newspaper of local circulation. The advertisement must state that the offer has been received and identify the property upon which the offer was made. It must include a date and time by which other offers, so other offers can be received, to be considered for purchase.
Okay.
It doesn't say, it just says a date and a time. But, so you can take other offers after the first offer has been made according to this policy.
Okay. Mr. Gregg had his hand up. He's next.
Once this is reviewed by staff, if they see fit to bring it to the board, ultimately, if we don't like the offer, we can still refuse it, correct?
Yes.
We always have that problem.
Ms. Barty? She's shaking her head, yes.
That's correct. The board has the discretion to approve the sale or not.
Okay.
One,
Mr.
my
Howard?
comment, dilapidated and neglected property. Today, it has made my heart feel good driving down John Patterson Boulevard, right beside the Baptist Association building. The house is almost completed. And that property laid, kind of in ruin and stuff for years. So I want to sort of move it because right in that little area from, say, Central over to, help me, Mr. Brewer, over to about 22nd, there might be, 20 properties in that vicinity? Would you kind of concur to that? Yeah, and see, put them back on the tax roll, put them back,
Okay. Mr. Harris?
So in stating that it must include a date and time at which other offers must be received, is there a time frame in mind for that? Or is that what Alderman Sneed said? He said 30 days.
It could be 30 days.
I mean, who's going to set that date and time if it's not in the ordinance?
Well, we can certainly go ahead. I would say at a minimum 30 days.
Other questions? Mr. Hayden?
Let's talk about a piece of property that's got tax liens on it, city and county, and maybe has a demolition lien from the city. Let's say that all totals up to $20,000. And let's say that piece of property is worth $7,000. And we receive a bid for $7,000. What happens?
Can I answer that?
Okay, we're going to let our attorney answer that.
I've already asked the state, you can't sell it and waiver the demolition and taxes.
Okay. Ms. Barty?
Mr. Head, in anticipation of that question today, I've done some additional research to compare the sales statutes versus the demolition statutes, which would fall under the slum clearance. And quite frankly, those statutes do not reconcile with one another. So there is not a clear answer. I have spoken with our delinquent tax attorney, Ms. Phyllis Morris, and some of this will fall back to the classification of the liens. You have a tax lien and you have a demolition lien. Both of those liens are obviously sold in a tax sale. It is unclear as to whether or not, or there are differing opinions as to whether or not the demolition lien, which is sold as the tax lien, can be forgiven. As Title 13 of the code, I believe it's 13, states that it cannot, or it should not and cannot. But under the tax sale, which is, and I can't recall the code section off the top of my head, states that it can. There is no clear answer. I can tell you that there has been an opinion issued by MTAS that it is possible. There is another school of thought that a demolition, in the priority of liens that are considered through municipalities and tax liens, tax sales, that a federal lien or an IRS lien would be number one. We would never escape a federal tax lien. Number two would be a county or city property tax lien. The third priority would be a demolition lien. So if the property is sold for the tax lien, in theory, by order of priority, the demolition lien might be considered to be wiped out, as would a deed of trust on a piece of property that sold as at a tax sale that a mortgage company or a lender did not choose to redeem. There is no case law on this. There is, as in many areas of our code, and that's the state statute, not our municipal code or our charter. There are statutes that are in conflict with one another. And so I know that Mr. Martin has done some research, that Jackson, Tennessee is moving forward based on the sale of the tax lien and the demolition liens that have been added to the tax sale. But understand, those liens have been sold on the courthouse steps in a tax lien. This would in no way be releasing a demolition lien, a mowing lien, some other, I'll call them a cleanup lien, prior to them being placed on the tax roll and sold, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, that's clear as mud.
Yeah. And
Madam Attorney, you're saying that impasse attorneys have told you that the demolition lien is third in line to, and then you said there's, of course, no state law, but there is some, there's a possibility that they could be waived, because that's the direct opposite of the same, that's the direct opposite of the answer I got on the demolition lien from impasse attorneys. They said you could not, and you're saying that there's a possibility.
I'm saying that if you take the two code sections separately and you treat the demolition lien as strictly a demolition lien and the tax lien as a tax lien, then if at a tax sale, Mr. Head buys a parcel of property and it is subject to a demolition lien, that the demolition lien would be wiped out because it's a junior lien to the tax lien.
That's what the Chancery Court doing this. That's where tax sales are done, at Chancery Court. We don't have those sales here.
But my understanding is these are the properties that we are talking about, the properties that no one bids back in at the tax sale that we
But you're
end
talking
up.
about tax sales, and we're talking about selling surplus property.
That
She's
is
talking about the
acquired
lien.
It's
through
come back
these
to
sales.
us by virtue of the tax sale.
Right, but we're not selling the property to recoup taxes, we're selling it because it's surplus. We don't want it anymore. And
Tax lien.
when Chancery does it, I don't know about y'all, but I've read the newspaper and it's clearly a 10% minimum bid in there that I just tried to make amendment to put into this, and I got that from Chancery Court because they do it. Because I guess they care about trying to sell it for the most money, and they're not trying to sell it to first come, first serve. Which, I don't know about y'all, but we got some grief over Woodard Hall over that.
Okay, next questions? Mr. Head?
So if we proceed with selling that property for $7,000, what are the consequences?
At this time, there are no clear consequences because this is not something that has been litigated.
And who could bring that type of action to question that?
Anyone?
A taxpayer could bring that type of action. Possibly the county, if, especially on the jointly held properties where we do not release for a full amount of the demolition lien.
We would be getting the county's approval
We would
before
be
we
getting-
did anything. That's
I
part
mean,
of it.
But if we said absolutely, if we said absolutely not. And really, I mean, it might be an audit issue, but again, it's not clear because the two statutes do not reconcile with one another. There's no cross-reference, so it's almost impossible to reconcile. Mr. Sneed mentioned MTAS and MTAS attorneys, and there are two attorneys within MTAS that have two different opinions.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I go back to Chancery has different statutes that allow them to do what they do. What we're selling is surplus. And we're not selling it because it reached 10 years or whatever the timeline that the county would force it to kick
Where
over
we don't
the
get
chantry.
anything.
We're doing it because it's surplus. Different circumstances. That's why there's no case law. We're just gonna have a portfolio of properties and everybody's going, I want this corner, I want that corner, I want this corner, I'll make you bid on that corner. You're gonna cherry pick it.
Okay.
You're gonna put it in the newspaper. And then it's going, a subsequent bid will be considered. I put verbiage that said it shall be a 10% because we need to make sure, I don't want to come back with $1 add-on. And then we have to advertise again because somebody bid at $1. It's gotta be 10%. I don't see why business people on this board didn't see that.
Next question, Mr. Head.
Could this be challenged by the state controller's office?
Yes, sir. That's why I said it might come up in an audit situation. But I've gotten communication. I've not spoken directly with the comptroller's office, and they also agreed that it's unclear.
Other cities in Tennessee have got to have gone through this.
Mr. Martin has done some research. Jackson, Tennessee has done this, and they are moving forward. They, I think, take the position that, hey, we bought the lien back at a tax sale, and understand it's after we acquire the property via a tax sale, whether that tax sale includes a demolition lien. That's how they acquire title to the property. So there's a distinction with property that we own, whether we bought it like Woodard Hall or Queen Anne Court, and these properties that we acquire in a tax sale. I mean, I think that is the complete distinction that I'm trying to make. The properties I'm concerned with are those that we have a demolition lien on. We have bought that demolition. That demolition lien has been added to the tax roll. It was never paid. So it's sold with the tax sale because it's been added to the tax roll. No one bids on the property, and the city ends up with those properties.
Okay, so these properties have been through a tax sale.
Yes, sir.
They're jointly owned by the city and county.
Possibly, yes.
Okay. What does that mean, possibly yes?
Well, we might own them ourselves. The county taxes may be paid, and the city might own them as ourselves.
So do they stop accruing taxes at the point they're sold? They go to the tax sale?
They're supposed to.
They're supposed to, yes, sir.
What other cities are doing is, and quite a few apparently are doing it, and I think they're looking at it, when they acquire these properties, it's past any period, nobody wants them, and the demolition lien sort of goes into the tax lien or the unpaid taxes, and it's all looked at basically as one, and whatever offers you get, you're gonna get. Nobody's probably, unless you advertise it, of course, which is what our plan is, then somebody can come in and pay more. But what are our other options? And you're not forgiving liens, you're not waiving liens, you're selling properties and you're putting them back on the tax roll. And as long as you do that correctly, now Mr. Martin, will let him address, he's done some research for other cities. So, you know, you can get technical.
Hold on just a second. Let Mr. Martin speak, and then I'm going to come back to you, and then Mr. Head, I think, had a question too.
I want to clarify a couple of things to make sure. These have gone to Chancery Court, and they do have their set of procedures, but there was no bid on these, so we wind up with these. Now, there are about 5 on the list that we own or have a possessory interest in. There's about 67 or more, I believe, when I counted this afternoon, that we jointly own with the county.
Right.
What the county is currently doing is, as soon as they receive one that only they own, they are advertising them, soliciting offers for them, and they're selling. If they are above the amount of back taxes owed, the county mayor has the authority to sign off and sell that property right then and there. If it's below the amount of back tax pursuant to statute, and this, I think, Mr. Head, goes to your question, if it's below the amount of back taxes owed on the property, it requires legislative body approval. So that has to go to the Delinquent Tax Committee and the County Commission. Those under this policy for our purposes, would come to this board to be able to approve. So if it's a $20,000 amount that's owed and it's a $7,000 bid, you would have to approve that. With the issue of forgiving liens, under this policy, and I think the way, it's a very murky area, I know we had some conversations, Ms. Barty and I have talked extensively on this topic. You really aren't forgiving the lien in this situation, because under the two routes, could it be challenged? Absolutely, but you're really not forgiving the lien, because either it's a junior lien that was wiped out as a virtue of the sale, or it's rolled into the taxes and becomes sellable by virtue of the taxes. Now, that's kind of the position that a lot of areas have taken it. This policy was modeled after Jackson. What kind of stirred this up and brought it on as more of a pressing issue is the fact that the legislature has passed a statute that requires us by July 1st of this year to publish our list of properties that we own. We are required to publish that list, and we can include instructions on that list of how to solicit offers for those properties. So there's a movement statewide to start getting these properties back out. So that's kind of what's pushed as far as the time sensitivity nature of this. So I hope that maybe clarified a little bit.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Okay, Mr. Sneed, we're back to you, and then we'll go to Mr. Head.
2 years ago, I asked the David Brewer's predecessor about these vacant properties we have here in town, and formulate a policy where we could notify, because we have changed setback rules where people were told that they couldn't build on their lot after it was demoed. They stopped paying taxes and it was taken away. I would like to have a policy where we try to go back and let that former owner know that about these properties, where there's only a few business people who know that they can get these setback waivers for building, and you're talking about demolition liens that were wiped out at the Chantry sale that maybe the former owner thought that they still own that property. I just want to see it go back into the hands of owners instead of landlords, and make rental properties out of them. And there should be something where we try to go back, tell the person that we took it from to start with, the rules have changed. That helped you make that decision to walk away from it a few years ago.
In my experience at the bank, once you've lost the property, they're not going to qualify to come back in and be able, it'd be a rare case scenario to qualify.
Right. Well, circumstances change with people. That doesn't, I mean, it'd be mean-spirited just to throw up your hands and not even try.
If you've had a tax lien, that's going to be on your...
Maybe they became gainfully employed in the years since it was taken. Maybe they came into an inheritance. There's a lot of things that change.
Yeah.
To not do that would be, I think, mean-spirited, Mayor.
Okay.
Well, I guess I have a question as far as at what point you do that, because we're not taking, they're giving it up.
Because they thought that they couldn't build anything back, and they had a demolition lien
If it's
hanging
gone
on.
to
All that's
Chantry.
wiped away for millionaires who are building rental properties now.
If it's gone to Chancery Court and we've gone through this whole process, this is a very timely, long period of time before we can actually get this property back, if I'm correct from my day job.
That's correct.
Okay. Mr. Head? We'll
I've
go
got
around the room.
Okay, I've got an amendment.
Okay.
Going back to Clay's amendment,
Okay.
I think he's right that if we're going to take increased bids for 30 days, that it should be at least 10%.
Okay, so tell me your amendment again, please.
That the,
After the 30 days and we've opened the bids,
we've opened the bid, we've got a bid.
okay?
We've got a bid that we're going to, I guess, approve. And any other outside party that wants to increase that bid, we have to increase it by at least 10%.
You can
Okay.
increase the bid after the 30 days By 10, it would have to be by 10%.
Or within that 30 days. Within the designated period for offers.
Okay?
Was that your amendment, Clay?
It would be each 10% increase would have to be advertised for 30 days. All the subsequent offers can't be within the initial 30 days. A 10% increase would go another 30 days until the process is exhausted. That's what Chancery Court is.
So if you get a 10% increase, then you would have another 30 days to advertise that increase to see if there was going to be another one.
I mean, if you don't advertise the 10% increase, I think you'd be opening up to, say, well, I didn't get proper notice.
Okay. There's an amendment on the floor. Do I hear a second to his?
State the amendment again,
State the
please.
I'm not sure I can.
Do you want the amendment to be exactly what Clay said?
Yes, I do.
Okay, he said it must include a 30-day period to allow a minimum 10% counter bid, and each counter bid must be advertised for 30 days until it's exhausted. Is that correct?
Is that right? Clay, you're good with that with your second?
A second that.
Okay. All right. Discussion on the amendment.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Once you vote on an amendment and it's failed, can you bring up the exact amendment again and vote on it?
Ms. Barty?
I don't think we can.
Okay.
Can't.
You can change it a word or two.
We didn't change
There's
it.
no word changed on
That
it.
was the.
We didn't vote on that amendment. It never got a second.
There was
Oh,
no
yeah.
second.
It died. That's
It
right.
died.
We
It
didn't
died.
vote on it.
Is it the high?
The dad comes back with a second.
You can bring back the amendment because it never was voted on. His question was, can you bring it back after we voted it down, was his question, and we didn't vote it down.
It didn't vote it down because it was killed automatically when you don't get a second.
Second is not a vote.
Law
His-
says once it's.
You
don't get a
answered
second,
his
it's
Oh,
automatic.
question.
gentlemen,
His question.
give Ms. Barty a minute.
It's dead.
Mayor,
Sir.
after Chancery, after a bid is raised 10%, then there's an auction held. It's not, you don't run it every 30 days, 30 days. There's an auction held at that 10% raise, and then somebody leaves there owning that property that day.
That is at Chancery. What you just said is correct for Chancery Court.
I thought with Chancery that it went to auction and then
Let it come back and raise it.
there was 30 days to raise that bid at least 10%.
That's the way it is.
Yeah. They have, once it's
It's
sold,
only one
they can
time,
come
though.
back and raise it within 30 days.
You're right about that.
Is that not right?
I think you're right about that.
That was only one time.
It's
One
only
time.
One time.
One time. Okay.
Okay, if I change my amendment.
Okay, hold on. We'll let her-
Is that gonna help?
If you change your amendment, yes, it will happen.
Okay, then I'll change the word in my amendment.
Well, I mean,
Okay, during the, what have we got, 30 days to raise a bid?
During the 30-day period,
To advertise the
Any-
offer.
Okay. To advertise the offer, and we'll accept,
You still gonna use the word counter offer, so it still would
we'll
be.
accept counter offers, but.
Well, that's
and
what
each
it
counter
would
offer
be.
must be at least 10%.
wait a minute.
Counter
Let's-
offers,
before-
okay.
Before I withdraw my second on the first motion, let me discuss something here, since we got a second and motion on the amendment. The problem with only allowing one 10% increase is because people collude. And don't tell me they don't. They'll get, people will get together and they'll put in a low ball bid, and somebody will come along and add 10%, game's over, the way that is. And people collude all the time and take properties that way.
I would agree with you on that.
That is why I'm trying to do something different. I don't have to make the amendment the same way Chancery does and allow that to happen. I'm trying to be a little bit smarter and represent the people who sent me here to try to get the most out of the properties we own.
okay? So now we have a motion by Mr. Head that during that 30-day period, we will accept offers of 10% or more.
Yes.
I'm not gonna say it again because I won't be able to repeat it again. Okay, so we have a first and we have a second.
I never withdrew my second on the other.
What? You second Bruce's.
I was,
Miss-
I
okay,
second
hold
his
on.
first
Gentlemen,
a motion to amend, and she's still supposed to be answering his question, whether it
You're
can
right.
be proposed again.
You're right.
But his question was, can we vote on it again? To answer his question, we didn't vote it on it the
We
first
didn't,
time.
we understand that, but
okay, stop, gentlemen. Ms. Barty.
can Bruce's fly, that's what we want to know.
Mr. Hubbard. Give her a second. Since Mr. Sneed did not withdraw his second to what Mr. Head said the first time, we need to know if that one will continue.
To reconsider that motion, we would take a 2/3 vote.
Okay?
On a motion that failed to get a second.
Okay, so he said he hasn't withdrawn. So we would have to have a 2/3 vote to bring it back to the floor as he presented the first time.
What statute are you looking at, Christie? I want to look that up.
I'm just
Right.
basically back in some of the.
Robert's Rules of Order. Robert's Rules of, what are you
Okay.
looking at?
Under the ranking of motion.
What's
All
the,
right.
what's the numbers?
It's not, I don't have it. I'm back trying some correct clarification.
Okay?
What about if you said after the initial 30 days, then each subsequent would be 15 days? That way you're changing the motion.
I think you're getting into people who complain they didn't have proper notice.
Do 15 days, after the first 30 days?
Mr. Head, do you have a motion?
I do, if we can move forward.
Yes. I'd like to move forward. Do you have a motion?
Okay. I do,
Okay.
yes.
I have none. First amendment and motion stands.
Yeah, it's still on the floor. But when you second.
Ms. Barty, is this still on the floor because he would not withdraw his second?
It is still on the floor because he will not.
Still on the floor.
Okay.
Until I find a resolution.
But you're saying it needs 5 people to vote for it instead of 4. So 5 people who thinks that the citizens of Springfield need to exhaust their possibility and avoid the collusion
Okay.
that happens at chamber will vote for it.
Let up put it.
If you are for the allowance of collusion and do not want to get as much as we can out of it, then you would vote no.
I want to see the property sold. Back on our tax rolls. Okay, so that motion is on the floor. Help me, Ms. Barty. Since he will not withdraw, we need to vote on that, correct?
And I believe you need, my interpretation is that you would need 5 people to vote to approve that motion.
Okay? Any more discussion about the motion?
Read the motion.
She has marked them all out.
No, the motion as amended to include, it must include a 30-day period to allow a minimum of 10% counter bid, and each counter bid must be advertised for 30 days until it is exhausted.
Thank you.
And that's the one that you second, right?
I did.
Okay.
Snead seconded it.
So we need to vote on this. We need 5 people to vote for it.
Ready to vote.
I want to make sure everybody understands what they're voting for,
We're
though.
voting to reconsider. Or are we voting on the motion?
We're voting on the motion.
Amended motion.
No, we're voting on the amendment to the motion.
On the amendment.
The
to the
amendment,
motion.
yes.
We're,
Just what she read.
we are voting on the amendment to Bruce's motion.
Yeah.
Okay? Call the roll, please.
Schneider,
No.
Harris,
Yes.
Gregg,
Aye.
Sneed,
Aye.
Trotter,
No, with a explanation. Vote yes, is that saying that the Chancery Court is subject to approving collusion?
no.
No.
He said that what the Chancery Court doing is opened up for collusion, I mean, the way they do it, so.
No, he said.
We're voting on what she read.
Okay.
Mayor, point of order.
No.
Point of order, Mayor.
Okay? Let her finish calling the roll.
We
Head,
have a
Let
council
her
that's
finish calling the
confused
roll.
about what
What's
he's
on
voting on. We need to read the amendment again and start over.
the motion as amended to include the wording, it must include a 30-day period to allow a minimum 10% counter bid, and each counter bid must be advertised for 30 days until it is exhausted.
Okay? You want her to call the roll back around again, just to make sure no one wants to change their... Yes.
Schneider,
No.
Harris,
Yes.
Gregg,
Aye.
Sneed,
Aye.
Trotter,
Abstain.
Mayor, point of order.
So-
If he's going to abstain, he needs to state his
Reason.
I abstain.
His reason.
Because
for-
I'm not clear on it, and like I said, you were saying that, the way the Chancery Court do it is wrong, more or less, what you're saying, and it's opened up to collusion, and I'm not saying that, you know, I'm smarter than the Chancery Court, what I'm trying to say, so I don't know, I'm not sure, so I abstain.
Okay?
Mayor.
Finish with the roll.
Challenge the mayor's decision.
That-
You're allowing that to proceed. He's abstaining. He has to have a conflict of interest to abstain.
Okay.
Cannot abstain because he's confused.
Okay? Ms.
That's my
Barty?
conflict of interest, I'm confused.
Ms. Barty?
He may pass.
Okay?
I pass.
All right. Finish calling the roll, please.
Head,
Yes.
Hubbard,
To keep the peace, yes. Let's move on.
pass, 5-1, one passed.
Now move.
Okay.
Move the amendment through. Ready to vote
Now
on
we need to
amendment.
vote as amended. The
Okay.
original motion is.
Now we're back to voting on the amendment as passed.
Yes.
Just
The
passed.
motion
Yes.
as amended.
Yes. Any more discussion about this?
Ready to vote. We killed it.
Call the roll, please.
Sneed,
Aye.
Harris,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Gregg,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Schneider,
Aye.
Trotter,
Pass.
pass 6-0, one pass.
Okay. 3.7, discuss and possible take action to approve a request from Batson Nolan for the Sneed Farm General Partnership for the purchase of 5-acre tank site, as well as the required easements for the AOC Contract 5 Cars Creek tank site. Do I hear a motion to discuss?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, Ms. Nair, Mayor.
Sir?
I'm going to vote because I don't know who these people are, so I don't
Okay.
think there's conflict of interest.
You're not, kin to him.
I
Thank you.
don't know who they are, so.
Okay, thank you for sharing.
Relatives.
Not in your family tree.
Same name, but.
Yeah.
Relatives.
There are a lot of Sneeds. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Sneed,
Aye.
Harris,
Yes.
Trotter,
Aye.
Schneider,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Gregg,
Aye.
pass 7-0.
3.8, discuss and possible take action to approve the professional services agreement for Lowson Associates, Inc. in the amount of $37,000 for the Brantsford Community Center. Do I hear a motion to
So
discuss?
moved.
Second.
Okay. Any questions?
Ready to get it started. Ready, ready, ready.
Okay. Gentlemen,
That's my comment.
no questions? Call the roll, please.
Head,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Trotter,
Aye.
Schneider,
Aye.
Gregg,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Sneed,
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
Thank you. Our consent doc,
Move to accept the whole consent doc.
okay?
I want to pull 4.3.
4.3. Okay,
Do we have to vote on pulling it?
all right. Let's just take is it okay to just take them individually? We can quickly get through them.
Okay, let's go to it.
4.1, the Finance Department requests the approval to purchase a half-ton four-wheel drive pickup utilizing the state contract bid 209 in the amount of $28,770.10 with the Wilson County Motors. We had budgeted $29,000. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Trotter.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Schneider.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Harris.
Yes.
Pass 7-0.
4.2, the Public Works Department requests to award the lowest bid submitted by Auxiliary Power Systems, Ram Lab, Alabama, for the amount of $47,850 for the furnishing of a 100K generator and a 400 amp transfer switch and the installation at the Public Works Department. The budget was $80,000. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Sneed.
Aye.
Harris.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Schneider.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
4.3, Parks and Recreation Department requests to award a bid to repair the Senko heating and cooling system at the center to DHC Robin Manette in the amount of $25,585. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, questions?
Question.
Yes, sir.
I know I'm getting old and time passes fast. It only seems like that we put new units up there a couple of years ago.
The roof units for the gym.
Okay. What is it?
These are the 4 units in the back that heat and air all the office space down the hallways, the locker rooms,
The fitness room.
the fitness room. Yes, sir.
Okay, something totally different.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Good question. Thank you.
It's been wacky lately. It was freezing during the winter and now we're burning out during the summer.
Any other questions while he's at the podium? Call the roll, please.
Harris.
Yes.
Schneider.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Gregg. Head.
Yes.
Pass 7-0.
I would like to make sure that I invite you to the Springfield High School graduation at Austin Peay on Thursday night at 6 p.m. I hope some of you will come out and join us in congratulating the students of Springfield High School and their great accomplishments. June 21st at noon will be our third reading for our budget. Please make sure you mark your calendar. Ms. Holt, City Manager's report.
Don't forget the ribbon cutting for the dog park, May 25th at 10 o'clock. So this is a big deal. The park looks fabulous. If you have not been out
benches
there
look
to
pretty.
see the
Looks
equipment
great.
that's been donated, it is a nice thing. Another thing that is new is that these meetings are now on our website. So people can go onto our website and watch these exciting meetings. I think we have the last 4, I guess, since January, every meeting since January. And so people will be able to go on and watch all the previous meetings. So if you want to, for everybody out there in TV land, if you want to watch it again, that's where to go, on our website. And we had started a draft policy for a food truck ordinance because we're getting all kinds of requests. Another thing, food trucks are so popular now. And we have an existing one, but it's very limited, and even now, food trucks are required to get a permit, but they're only good for 7 days. So we had drafted this one, it got complicated, which apparently they all are, and they're all kind of lengthy. By the time you take into consideration the codes and electrical and how they dispose of their fats, oil, and grease, I mean, but food trucks and the health department, so we will try to have that ordinance to you next month. But they are required right now to have a permit to operate as a food truck.
Okay?
So that's all I've got for tonight.
Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.
Okay.